verses 1 and 2.
Standing always at my side. You guard me from the foe, and you lead me in ways everlasting. Lord, you have searched my heart, and you know when I sit and when I stand. Your hand is upon me, protecting me from death, keeping me from harm. Oh Lord, I know you are near, standing always at my side. From the foe, and you lead me in ways everlasting. Where can I run from your love? If I climb to the heavens, you are there. If I fly to the sunrise or sail beyond the sea, still I'd find you there. Standing always at my side. You guard me from the foe, and you lead me in ways everlasting.
Jeff could use a couple more people in the choir. And I hear some good voices out there. So don't be shy. He's a good musical director. You'll have fun, you'll be challenged, and you'll enhance the liturgy. How's that sound? How's that sound, Jeff? Okay, tonight we have one handout. And again, I appreciate everybody who turned them in. I love the feedback is important. The comments are important. And if you want to be on my email list, make sure you write neatly on that upper right-hand side. We're going to start tonight, as we did last night. We're going to take a moment and bask in God's presence. God's grace is always with us. His love, His light, His grace is always shining down upon us, whether we're paying attention or not. And the more we can practice this little meditative exercise, the better we get at realizing who we are and letting God's grace flow into our lives. So let's just bask in God's presence for a moment. Okay, let's come back. Who did that this morning? Well, come on. No, just kidding. Again, it's Lent, and the whole purpose of Lent is to prepare ourselves for the wonders of the resurrection, as well as the passion and death. And another prayer like that can become a habit. It's good if you can, start something in Lent and let it carry on through your life. It's a nice thing to do. It's comforting, it's consoling, it's encouraging. It gives us a good start to the day. It gives us a time, any time during the day. It doesn't have to be at the beginning. It could be when you get out of your car or when you get into your car. It could be any time of the day. You could just stop and focus on God's presence. The theme of this week is to work on ourselves, work on our human side so we can be more open to experience God's love. Last night we talked about what are happy people like, because the happier we are, the easier it is for God's grace to flow into our lives. The sadder, if we're anxious, we're worried, we're sad, we're angry, those things are keeping God's grace from us. So if we can focus on some of those characteristics that we talked about last night, God's grace starts to flow into our lives more easily. And once that happens, there's no stopping us. That's the beauty of this stuff. We can just make it, go and make it part of our lives. We talked last night about happy people have the intention. We're just going to do a quick run through for a minute or two. Happy people have the intention to be happy. Christians have the intention to live in God's grace. Happy people, it's not the circumstances of my life, but it's how I deal with those circumstances. I'm making choices. God's given me a free will, so I can either respond in a Christian loving way or not. It's my choice. And that's the second characteristic is happy people are accountable for their own happiness. We have free will. And there's no blame game. And there's no negativity. I am the person that I am. You are the people you are. It's the result of all the choices we've ever made in our lives. We want to have a better life? Guess what? We can start to make different choices. How simple is that? And it sounds simple, but not so easy, because we've been thinking and choosing and responding the way we've been responding our whole life. So it's not so easy to all of a sudden turn towards God. Let that anger be quelled, diminished. Let that anxiety go away. Come to me, all you who labor and are burdened, and I will give you rest. Third characteristic, happy people know what makes them happy, and they find time to do it. We talked about, we're all different. So we have different people love to do different things. God has given us these gifts. So when we're involved in any of the gifts that we love doing, give thanks to God for giving you that ability, whether it's singing in the choir, whether it's playing golf, whether it's gardening, whether it's quilting, whether it's sumo wrestling. The fourth characteristic is some happy people follow their bliss. Step out of your comfort zone a little bit. You don't have to, go to the mountains and sell your home and do everything and just, meditate on a mountain. No, we live in the world, but we can not be in the world. We can have a spiritual life. We can follow our bliss. Whatever you're good at, take it and run with it. God is going to ask you, what did you do with the gifts I gave you? We all have gifts. Some of us have more gifts than others, but we're responsible for using the gifts that God has given us for his honor and glory. The fifth characteristic is happy people are able to recast mournful events. Talked about problems, talked about opportunities. And a problem is nothing more than a circumstance that I'm confronted with. So if I see it as a problem, guess what? It's a problem. But now we know that every problem has a silver lining. Every cloud has a silver lining. So our job when we're living our life and we come across an issue that confronts us in a negative way, we have a choice of how to deal with it. We could go with it and respond negatively or angrily or lash out, or we could try to be kind, forgiving, understanding. All these good things are there for us too. But we have to decide how we want to respond. And the best thing to do is being prepared for these issues, because we know who's going to press our buttons. We know when we're going to hit some difficult times. So be ready. And And that devil is always after us. He's always trying to turn us away from the goodness of Christ. He's always trying to be selfish. She can't talk to you that way. Who does he think he is? All of these things, the devil is pounding on us all the time. So we've got to fight him off, and the way to do it is with prayer. With prayer. Pray. We've all got these challenges, and sometimes praying to overcome that challenge, it can help. It can help. We talked about the faith of the person knocking on the door to get that loaf of bread. We talked about the woman touching Jesus' cloak. It's the faith that people have, that we have access to. We have to build our faith through prayer, through giving, through coming to Mass, through receiving communion, through all the sacraments. The faith is what really gets us there. The belief of who we really are. The belief of what we're called to be, who we're called to be. And then we have options. We can wake up and put on our blinders, or we can put up our antennas. I try to say, I wonder what good is going to come my way today. Everybody say that. I wonder what good is going to come my way today. I'm looking for good things to happen. If I'm looking for bad things to happen, guess what? That's what I'm going to find. Yeah, but. If you catch yourself saying, yeah, but, just say, yeah. You don't have to look at the negative side. Only if you're a lawyer. If you're a lawyer, you always got to think, yeah, but. Because you've got to protect your clients. But we're not. I don't know. Maybe you are a lawyer. You're not a lawyer. Get rid of the yeah, but. Just say, yeah. Open to God's grace. Happy people show appreciation. Wow. Thank God I can get out of bed by myself. And so on all day long. Thank God I've got a car that works. Thank God I've got a loving spouse. Thank God I've got a house that, all these things. We can live in gratitude if we want to, versus taking things for granted. Does us nothing. Does not lead us closer to God when we're taking things for granted. Being grateful, giving thanks to God, that brings us closer to God. We start to live a life of gratitude, everything's going to change. Nothing on the surface will change, but everything inside is changing because we're living in God's grace. Appreciate. And we talked about giving. It's good to give, but we've got to look in our heart, what our heart is like when we give. So these are things to work on. It's a life's work. That's one of the chapters in my book. It's a life's work. A saint wasn't made in a day. We read the lives of the saints. Many of them did not start off as saints. Many of them lived a debaucherous life, if that's a word. So they came to Christ. So we too we come to Christ. We don't have to be perfect to start with, but we're working on ourselves. So tonight we're going to change the gears a little bit. We're going to talk about living a life of prayer. And what I mean by that is managing our thoughts so we can always have our mind on God, on Jesus, on what we're here for, on God's grace. And wouldn't it be great if we could just let go of the negative thoughts that we have and hang on to the positive, the good thoughts, the forgiving thoughts, the loving thoughts, the compassionate thoughts. If we could just let go of those negative thoughts and hang on to the good ones, our lives would get better. God's love would flow more readily into my life. Sounds simple, right? Let go of the negative thoughts, hang on to the good thoughts. Simple, but again, like so many of the things that I talk about, they're simple, but not easy. Because we've been thinking the way we've been thinking our entire lives. We've developed what I call thought systems. I have my way of looking at the world. We all have our own ways of looking at the world. We've been raised by parents. We've gone to schools. We've had teachers. We've had coaches. We've had friends. We've had life experiences. And we have a worldview. We all do. Thought systems. Some of it is good, too. Some of our thought systems are good. Our loyalty, our generosity, our compassion, our honesty. There's a lot of good stuff. But there's negative stuff over here, too. The shoulds, the ought tos, the have tos, the regrets, the rumination. But there's hope, because we also have what I call a natural state of mind, where there's peace, joy, tranquility, solutions to problems, our genius. We all have this part of our life, too. The question is, how do I get here when I'm stuck over here in the negative spiral of sadness or anger or depression? How do I get out of this when I'm over here where it's all good, where God's grace is flowing into my life? How do I do it? Number one, you got to want to be here. You have to want to have some peace in your life. Some people wear their stress like a badge. That's all they talk about. Well, if you lived where I live, if you had the upbringing that I had, if you had the coworkers that I had, if you had the blah, blah, blah that I have, guess what their life is going to be? Just like that. Just like that. Because that's all they're thinking about. That's how they identify themselves. That's who I am. That's number one. You got to want to be over here where there's peace, joy, tranquility, God's grace. The other thing is, you have to know what it feels like to be here. If you've never been here, it's hard to get here when you're stuck over here. You know, it's like going, it's like, I'm just going to pick something out of the air. It may sound ridiculous, but I don't know Florida that well, so you have to, let's say you want to go sailing. No, not on the St. John River. That's pretty easy from here. Let's say you want to, God, where would you go? Baseball. A baseball game down in Daytona. Now, that's so easy. That's too easy. No, all right, I'm going to make something up. I'm going to use New York as an example. Let's say you want to go to I should have been better prepared with this one. I'm going to use Long Island. Long Island has an East End, a resort area, in the Hamptons. And your friend just bought a house out in Montauk, okay, the end of Long Island. You live in Nassau County. It's a long way out there. It's raining. Your GPS isn't working. You got the directions on a piece of paper. You get pretty far out there on the Long Island Expressway, but then you get off on the side roads and you get lost. So then you call your friend. He comes and gets you at a gas station where you pulled off. He brings you to the house and you have a great weekend out in Montauk. Next week, a couple of weeks later, he says, gee, come on out to my house in Montauk again. We had a great time. Same situation. It's raining. It's a Friday night. Your GPS isn't working. You got the directions on a piece of paper. You're driving out to the end of the expressway, and you make some wrong turns. You can't find the place. You call him again, and he comes and gets you, and you have a great weekend. A couple of weeks later, he calls you up again. Come on out. We have a great time. No GPS, directions on a piece of paper. It's raining. This time, you find it. You've been there a few times. You make a couple of wrong turns, but you find it. You've all had that experience of going someplace for the first time and wondering, even the GPS is telling you, wonder if you're really ever going to get there. But once you've been there a couple of times, it's no problem. No problem at all. It's the same with our natural state of mind. So the more we can be here, the more often we can come to this place on purpose and experience it, the easier it is to get there when we're over here stuck in the negative spiral of sadness or whatever that negative idea is. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to practice tonight being in our natural state of mind, just to feel what it's like. And you can leave your eyes open, you can close your eyes, and we're going to breathe. Hopefully we've been breathing all night, but now we're going to pay attention to our breath. You don't have to do any special kind of breathing, just regular breathing, nose, mouth, it doesn't matter. Now what's going to happen is when you start breathing and you're paying attention to your breath, a thought is going to come into your head. You can't stop the thoughts. But in this exercise, you're going to notice the thought and let it go and come back to your breathing. Let's try that for a minute. Okay, let's come back. Did you notice anything physical happening? I always notice my shoulders start to slump a little bit. I don't realize it, but I got a little tension in my neck and upper spine. My shoulders just kind of slump, and I start to relax a little bit, right? Anything wrong with relaxing? No. It's important to be able to relax. What do we call that exercise we just did? Meditation. Meditation. In its simplest form, meditation is just emptying our mind and being. You ever hear of Deepak Chopra? He's a medical doctor from India and a spiritual teacher. He says, what are we, human doings or human beings? Sometimes it could be a very productive part of our day just to be. And there's many benefits of meditation. Health benefits, relaxation benefits, a lot of good benefits. But for our purposes tonight, this meditative exercise is to bring home the fact that I am not my thoughts. My thoughts are just thoughts. A thought is just a thought. It's not my life. But the reality is, the thoughts that I hang on to become my life. So, boy, if we could practice this meditative exercise to notice a thought and let it go, our lives would start to get better immediately. We let it go and let God's grace flow into my life. Acknowledge that grace. Not easy. And what does meditation cost? Nothing. You just got to be able to carve out some time during the day. But you need a special outfit, right? Sometimes it helps to have something different. Maybe a scarf or maybe a candle or maybe an icon, statue of Jesus, statue of Mary, to help you bring you back to your breathing. Because we get distracted. And meditation, some people are going to be better at it than others. Some people are more placid in personality, more relaxed. Others are a little more high-strung and active. But we can all get better at it. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be like a Buddhist monk and lower your heartbeat to 36 beats a minute. It could be a minute, just like we did with basking in God's presence. It could be just a couple of breaths during the day to center yourself, to get back to where you want to be in your life. It's all about intention. We talked about that last night. What kind of a life do you want for yourself? You want to be stressed out all the time and on edge and ready to lash out at somebody? This quieting the mind can be very, very helpful in getting over some of those negative responses and letting God's grace fill your heart. So that's it. A thought is just a thought. They're not my life. I've taught in the jail for a long time up in Long Island, and you wonder what, if anything, is getting through, the heads of these people. Hopefully it is. I was a financial advisor for many years, and I was seeing a client out the east end of Long Island. There's a diner that a lot of people go to, and I was sitting there with a client, and there was a young family walks in, a guy, his wife, and two little kids, and he sits in a booth in the back, and I guess he must have recognized me when he passed by, and like 5 minutes after he sat there, he popped his head up and says, "Hey, Jim, a thought is just a thought." Yeah, somebody got something. But again, here's the thing, we can remind ourselves when we catch ourselves in these negative thoughts. We have to notice it. That's the key. Because sometimes we don't even pay attention, and we just keep living that life by default. The chapter in my book, oops, there I go again. That's what I say to myself when I catch myself worrying, angry, upset. Oops, there I go again. Whatever little trigger you could use to remind yourself to come over here where it's good. Not easy, because we are, that's another chapter. Are we really creatures of habit? I really think we are. So we've got to develop some new habits that are productive, that help us lead a life of Christian love and joy. So that's the first part. A thought is just a thought. Now, I started doing this in earnest back in the year 2000, roughly. And at the same time, there was a professor of psychology at the University of Pennsylvania, Martin Seligman. He became the president of the American Psychological Association. And he saw this august group of professionals dealing almost exclusively with people who had problems. Phobia, depression, anxiety, all eating disorders, all these negative things that kept people from functioning normally. And he noticed that they weren't doing anything to people who were doing okay. So he introduced the concept of positive psychology. And all of a sudden, studies started to be done about happiness. Before, there was no studies on happiness. It was all the negative stuff. No, there's been thousands of studies on happiness. And psychology is a science, and science is always a moving target. What we know today may not be true 20 years ago, just like the things we know today were proven false that we believed 20 years ago. So they did a lot of these studies. And the prevailing wisdom, out of 100% of our happiness, 50%, the studies say, is genetic. We're born of parents. We have tendencies, okay? If my parents were the life of the party, chances are I've got an outgoing personality. If my parents were quiet and shy, chances are I've inherited some of those characteristics, tendencies. 50% is genetic. 10%, they say, is our circumstance. Did I grow up in a happy family or was it dysfunctional? Did I go to a good school or was it run by the hooligans? Did I live in a safe neighborhood or was it dangerous to go out at night? That's 10%. And you know what the other 40% the studies show? You know what it is? What I do with what I've got. That's a lot. 40%. Whew. So nobody is stuck. Nobody is stuck. Take that to your heart. Nobody is stuck. Because a lot of people think they're stuck. I mean, if you think you're stuck, guess what? You're stuck. But now you know you're not stuck. So although these 8 characteristics carry over into what am I doing with what I've got. We all come from a different place. Some of us have more advantages. Some of us come from a loving home. Some of us come from a home where we were complimented and encouraged. And some of us come from homes where the opposite happened. You're no good. You're rotten. And we grow up with that stuff. And boy, that can be pretty hard set in that 50%, the genetic stuff. So nobody is stuck. The question is, what am I doing with what I've got? And there's so many. You read biographies. You read famous people. There's almost always a story of overcoming something in their early lives, whether it's financial, physical, emotional. It's good to read biographies. Lives of the saints didn't start off as saints. So it's important to know that we're not stuck. But more important, even from our thoughts, is what we tell ourselves about ourselves, our self-talk. What we tell ourselves about ourselves really becomes a reality. If I'm telling myself, I'll never be able to do that, it's not going to work out, guess what? That's what's going to happen. Our self-talk. So we've got to watch what we say to ourselves about ourselves. And never move this thing over far enough. Maybe this is what you tell yourself. Yeah, growing up, my family was a wreck. My father was an alcoholic. He was in and out of work, couldn't hold a job. As a result, we never had new clothes. We always had to buy them from the secondhand store. We had a junky old car. I always made my mother drop me off 2 blocks from school. I was embarrassed to have the other kids see the car that we had. We never went on vacation, never went out to eat, never had family over for holidays because we couldn't trust my father to behave himself. My mother was always under pressure because she didn't know, if my father was going to come home, and if he did come home, what shape he was going to be in. We couldn't answer the phone because it was probably going to be a bill collector. Why do you think I am the way I am? Come on. Maybe you tell yourself this story. Yeah, growing up, my family was a wreck. My father was an alcoholic. He was in and out of work. He wasn't physically mean, nasty, but he was distant, never really had any interest in what we were doing. Couldn't have a pet because we couldn't afford the food. Couldn't go on any school trips because we couldn't afford the fee. Couldn't answer the phone. It was probably going to be a bill collector. I always had to come home right after school to watch my little brother and sister. Couldn't have friends over because we never knew what shape the house was going to be in. Then I got into high school, and I had an English teacher, and she gave us a writing assignment. We could either write a poem or a short story. I chose to write a poem. We turned the papers in, got them back a couple of days later, and mine had A on it. Please see me after class. So I went up after class. The teacher complimented me on the poem, and she said, would you mind reading the poem to the class tomorrow? I said, no, I could do that. And she said, she suggested I submit it to the school newspaper because they're always looking for submissions from the kids in the school. So I did that too. I read the poem the next day, and some of the kids in the class liked it. Some of them liked it who weren't even my friends. Not everybody, but I started to feel good. I felt good about myself. I had something that people liked. And then I put it in the school newspaper, and kids would see me in the hall who I didn't even know, and they would compliment me. So again, I started to feel better about me. I didn't have to hide. My clothes were still secondhand. They were clean, but certainly not stylish. Still never went on the school trips. All the other stuff stayed the same, but I felt better about me. I felt I could contribute in a conversation with my friends, and they were listening to me. They valued my input. I went on to college. I got a degree, found a nice woman to marry, got a couple of kids, nice little house. I've overcome a lot. Yeah, growing up, my family was a wreck. My father was a drunk, in and out of work, couldn't hold a job. We had a junky car. I always made my mother drop us off blocks from the school because we were embarrassed to see the car we drove. Clothes were always secondhand. Couldn't have a pet. Couldn't go on any trips. Couldn't answer the phone. Was probably a bill collector. My mother was always yelling at me because she was under pressure from my father. Then I got into high school, and I had an English teacher who gave us a writing assignment. I chose to write a poem, turned it in, got an A on the paper, and teacher asked me to see her after class. So I went up. She asked if I would read the poem to the class the next day, suggested I put it in the school newspaper. We did both. I got some positive feedback from my classmates. Who knew? They liked it. In the school newspaper, other kids liked it. I felt better about me. I didn't have to hide. My clothes were still secondhand, but I felt I had something to offer with my friends. Even if they didn't agree with me, they seemed to respect my opinion, and I felt better about that. I went on to college, got a degree, found a nice woman to marry, had a couple of kids, nice little house. I've overcome a lot. And then I got a call from a friend, and he said, "Are you doing anything next Saturday?" And I said, "No, why?" He said, "Well, I volunteer down at the Y. We teach underprivileged kids classes in art and writing." He says, "I do the art classes, but the fellow that does the writing classes has gotten sick, and he's going to be out for quite a while." He said, "I know you've done some writing. Would you want to help out?" I said, "Yeah, all right, I'll try it." So I went down to the Y at the appointed time, and we had little groups of kids, 3, 5 kids, and I gave them the assignment that I got in high school to write a poem or a short story. Or they could draw a picture and write a caption, just something creative for them. And I would go from kid to kid and compliment them on the work, whether it was a spelling of a correct spelling of a word or a concept that was kind of interesting. And I would compliment them, and their faces light up. His smile was as big as their face, and I saw their smile. I couldn't help but mirror that smile back to them. I felt great. I can't wait to go back again. I can't believe how good my life is. So what story do you tell yourself? What story do you tell yourself about you? What are you capable of? What can you do? What can't you do? It all fills into that, what we talked about last night, about using our gifts, trying something, stepping out of our comfort zone, trying something a little, stretching ourselves a little bit. You never know what you're capable of. I had a friend that I used to sing in the folk group at our church up on Long Island. And, backing up. When I graduated from high school, I went to a Catholic school in upstate New York, and I was taught by Irish Christian brothers. And I joined the congregation out of high school. I was inspired by the teachers. And I joined the congregation. I went through their training program, graduated from Iona College in New Rochelle, and taught in the Catholic school up in Boston for 2 years. then I decided that the vocation wasn't for me. So I left the brothers and moved to Long Island. And when I was in the brothers, I played the guitar. We used to go visit nursing homes down in New Jersey. That's where we were stationed. And I would bring my guitar, and we would sing the old songs to the old folks, and they liked it. 5'2", eyes are blue, could she? Anyway, I learned all those old songs, and it was fun. It was fun. So when I left the brothers, I continued that. I would go to local nursing homes and sing songs with the old folks. And one of the guys in our folk group was a man that I really respected. Couldn't play the guitar, couldn't sing, but he was such a nice guy we couldn't throw him out of the group. And there was an anniversary party at the church. I forgot what the year of the anniversary was, but they had a nice dinner, a celebration. And he was sitting at one table. I was at another table with other friends. And I went over to him and I said, his name was Dan. I said, Dan, I finally figured out what I'm going to do. I'm going to really focus on entertaining at the old folks. That's going to be my ministry. And he looked at me and said, Jim, there's more. So he brought me to the jail out in eastern Long Island and got me started on this track. So I say to you, there's more. There's always a little more you could do. With God's grace. That was God's grace. That was the Holy Spirit talking to me through my friend Dan that day. There's more. So there's more for all of us. A little more. Not stupendous stuff, but there's a little more. We have blessings. We have gifts. And we can talk ourselves into things. And we can talk ourselves out of things. It's that self-talk that is crucial. So be kind to yourself. When you catch yourself beating yourself up over here, say, wait a second. I'm a child of God. I'm on my way. I'm working on things. And you move ahead. And it's that contact that we have with our Lord through understanding and realizing his presence that really can drive us and can encourage us. So self-talk is so important. So important. Listen to yourself. Let Christ inspire you, not the devil. Because he's going to tell you, forget it. Don't volunteer for that. Stop it. Let somebody else do it. You don't have time for that. All these things that hold us back from being who we can be. And we work on these things. And some of us, maybe more than some of us, have one thing that really irks us. A lot of us have a certain idea about one piece of my life that really bothers me. I wish it weren't so. And it's a negative idea that I have about me, whatever it might be. A million things that we could harbor in ourselves. Maybe it's from childhood. Maybe we had a bad experience one time. And that just is embedded in our psyche. And this is that negative idea about me. And this is my conscious awareness. And I have this negative idea about me. And I'm squeezing it. And people are telling me, no, Jim, that's not you. You're not that way. Oh, yes, I am. And I keep squeezing this. You see my knuckles? You see, they're getting white. You think this is comfortable, holding on to this idea about me and not letting it go? Squeezing it? Never letting it go? No, it's not comfortable. But you know what? I get used to it. Yeah, so that, so I'm not, and we limit ourselves. That's God's grace. God is never, that's the devil telling you that. That's the devil telling you you're not capable. You got negative things about you. But if we start to listen to God, listen to Jesus, and let God's grace come into my life, guess what? And I start telling myself some good things about me, which I have plenty of. Look at this. That negative idea about me is not part of me. It's not attached to me. It's not intrinsic to who I am. It's just a thought that I've been thinking for a long time, and I really believe it. But look at this. I start working on me and letting that go, letting those negative thoughts go and filling my mind with goodness. eventually I can let it go. It's gone. Look at that. Thank you. The grace of God. I can start to love more fully, give more fully. What did I just do? Picked it up. It's not easy to let go of it. It's not easy to let go of it. But hey, it's a long life. That's a chapter. It's a long life. We got plenty of times. And I'm a big fan of James Taylor. And one of the lyric that shows up in a lot of his songs is, it's enough to be on your way. You know, we may never get there. We may never be a saint. It's a struggle constantly, but it's enough to be on your way. God sees the efforts that we're making. He hears the prayers. He's ready to help us. We can't give up. And that's what this is all about. We let the devil take charge of me and tell me what I can't do, who I can't be. There's more. Not easy stuff. Not easy stuff. Believe me. There's hope. There's hope. It's amazing what we can do, even in our own lives. It starts with inside us. It starts with that grace of God. And there's hope. That's the bottom line. And we start and to me, the goal is to be able to say to myself, I can't believe how good my life is. That may be today, but tomorrow may not be so good. But I'm happy today with God's grace. Tomorrow, I'm human. I may mess up, but I want to keep bouncing back to that. I can't believe how good my life is. It's here for us. And Jesus tells us all these stories about how to do it. But we have our own way. This human side of us, this devil, is insidious. But we all can have a wonderful life. It's all about what's going on here and what I'm telling myself about me. And the more I tell myself how blessed I am, what's going right in my life versus what's going wrong in my life, it can happen little by little. It's enough to be on your way. And we can do things. I read a book by a neuropsychologist, and he said we can improve our life. We can become more optimistic. You ever hear let's say, if you see the glass as half empty, what are you? Pessimist. Right? If you see the glass as half full, what are you? Optimist. You know what my attitude is? What half full? I want a full glass. And next year, you know what I want? A bigger glass, full. And the year after that, you know what? A bigger glass. The joy of loving God. That's where it is. And the full glass, it doesn't come from the having of things, but the giving. The more you give, that glass keeps getting full. It runs over and it fills up more. We all have that potential. We all have that possibility within us. And this neuropsychologist said, we can change the pathways in our brain. We have pathways in our brain, the thought systems. You know, it's like Saxon Avenue. There's a highway, right? I was on Saxon Avenue a couple times today. The road goes here this way. Then Route 4. You get on Route 4 from a highway. It's a well-trodden, well-ridden road where you get on it because it's fast. You get used to it. It's your way to go. So we have put in our brain our own pathways. Pathways that help us be more Christ-like and pathways that help us be less Christ-like. These are pathways. These are habitual responses that we've done over and over again that become part of us. He says you can change those pathways. You can become more loving, more optimistic. He says the thing is, he uses the expression, take in the good. Take in the good. We see, like this time of year, we start to see daffodils. I mean, Florida, I don't know. I always got daffodils. In my experience, daffodils come in the spring, and they're beautiful yellow flowers that shoot up and flowering trees are beautiful. So he says, take it in. You see a flowering tree in the spring. Take it in. Magnolia tree, cherry blossoms, or tulips, whatever. Enjoy that beauty. Really embrace the beauty and feel good with that experience. Maybe it's a piece of music that just carries you away. Embrace it. That's creating a pathway in your brain for joy. for joy, for happiness. We can do that. If we do it for 15 seconds, it's a conscious way of living, as opposed to just living by default, taking things for granted, just plowing through the day, same day, different baloney. No, live that life. I wonder what good is going to come my way today, looking for good stuff to happen consciously. Or some people look for, bad things to happen. See, I told you. And I use a metaphor of, again, I'm going to use the Catskill Mountains up in upstate New York, 150 miles, 100 miles from New York City up north and west. Not a big mountain range, but a lot of wilderness. So my friend told me about a pond. Now, this is a metaphor. It's a pond in the woods. It's in the wilderness. There's no road to get there. He says you got to drive up this Route 17 and pull off and make some rights and lefts, and it's a dirt road, and there's a big tree that's fallen down on the side of the road. That's where you park. He said, then you get your compass, and you get the coordinates, and you got to tromp through the woods. So I did that. I went up there, parked the car at the correct spot, got the compass, and I started walking through the woods. There's this branch. I got to watch out. I don't want to poke my eye. Oh, there's water here. I got to step over the swamp. And there's poison ivy over here. And there's big weeds in front of me. I'm kind of wading through the weeds. I finally get to the lake. It's such a great day of fishing. I run out of bait. I can't believe how the fish bite. As soon as I take one off, another one gets on. I run out of bait, so I got to I throw a lot of them back because I can't eat all that I caught. And I take my stuff and I start my way back to the car. Walking through all these big weeds, and watch out for that stick, the poison ivy, the swamp. And I finally get back to the car, and I drive home, and I tell my friend, you were right. What a great place to fish. Why don't we both go next weekend? And he says, yeah, let's do that. So we drive up in his car, and now there's two of us going through he's got the compass, and I'm following him, and he's, watch out for the stick. Okay, there's a log. Oh, watch out, the swamp, the wet, the poison ivy. Watch. And we get to the lake, and we have a great day of fishing. We both catch so many fish, you can't bait the hook fast enough. So then we turn around, we go back, same thing, trotting back to the car. There's a poison ivy, there's the swamp and the log and the big stick. I finally get back to the car, and we say, hey, we got to come back here next week with our families. My kids would love this. My wife would love this. So we all climb into two SUVs. I got 5 in mine, 5 in his. We go up there, we park behind him, and now there's 10 of us tramping through the woods. Watch out, they're stepping over the log. Watch out for the swamp, the poison ivy, and the big weeds. We get there, we have a great day of fishing. The kids, I can't believe how many fish they're catching. We go back, stepping up over this log. Watch out for the water, the poison ivy. What are we doing with that activity? What have I been doing? I'm making a path where there was no path. I can do that in my head. I can do that in my life. I can make a pathway in my brain that I want to make by going there often, coming back, going often, visualizing the life I want, the kind of Christian, God-loving life that I want. Whatever it might be, we all have our own gifts, our own talents, and we can see this pond is the metaphor for, I can't believe how good my life is. And the more you go there in your mind, just like going there physically, you create a pathway where there was no pathway. You don't know what you're capable of. You don't know what you're capable of. And this is we can create, God, see, God has given these gifts, and doing this kind of stuff is not, it is human. We're working on our human stuff, but it's God's grace that's giving us the strength and the fortitude to keep going when we hit a roadblock. Because that devil is going to say, come on, are you kidding? You can't do that. The devil is going to tell you you can't do it. Whatever it might be, to live a Christian loving life. So that's another kind of meditation, is visualizing the life you want. Maybe it's just loving your spouse. Maybe it's just loving your kids. Whatever it might be, it's possible by continuing to see yourself in that position. Using God's grace And as you're visualizing that life, you know what's going to happen? Ideas are going to come into your head about how to make it happen. Again, you don't know what's possible. But giving yourself a chance to let it soak in, that's the beauty of the grace that God gives us. So nobody is stuck. There's a tremendous potential out there for living the life of our dreams, living the life that Jesus has taught us to live through the Gospels. Read the Gospels and pay attention to what he says about things and take them to heart like he's talking to you, because he is talking to you. The parables, all of these stories have a meaning, and some are going to be more meaningful for you than others, but continually read them, because you read it once and then you start it again. You're a different person when you're reading the Gospel of St. Luke or St. John or Matthew or Mark. You're different. So keep reading it and getting those ideas. So this all sounds great, right? It all sounds great. But the reality is, we still got stuff that really bother us, you know, regardless of all I'm working on. And one of the things that always bothered me the most was pillows on my bed. We lived in a beautiful house up in Long Island, Victorian house. In our bedroom, when we first had it redone, I would tease my wife saying this is like the suite at the Pierre Hotel in Manhattan. You know, four-poster bed, beautiful paint the wall. It was really nice. And I like to go to bed before my wife. She likes to watch TV. I like to get up early. So I'd go to bed early. And I go up to the bedroom, and what do I see on the bed? Pillows. So I would get angry. Sometimes I just feel like taking off my shoes, throwing them in the corner, and jumping on the bed. Don't take anything off. And just when my wife comes up, then I'll help her get the bed ready. But right now, I'm going to bed in anger. I was over here in this side of my life, over here, you know. And eventually, here I am giving talks on how to be happy. I didn't like how I felt. I noticed it, and I said, this isn't right. I don't want to be angry at my wife. She's a great wife. She's a great housekeeper. You know, people come in and admire her decorating ability and so on. So I said, I didn't like how I felt. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to time myself to see how long it takes me to get the bed ready. Okay? So what I did, I hit my stopwatch on my watch. Boom, go. At the foot of the bed, we have this coverlet. I don't know what it does, but it's there at the foot of the bed. So I think she saw it in a magazine, something. So I took the end, flipped it over again, put it on we have a bench at the end of the bed, put it there. Then I go up to the pillows, and there's like a show pillow with embroidery, beautiful blue, light blue, anyway, so I take that, and I put that over in the rocking chair. Now there's 2 more show pillows, not quite as fancy as this one, but still pretty fancy. So I pick them up, bring them up, put them on the rocking chair. Then I go up, and there's 2 more pillows covering our pillows. They're not fancy, but they're covering the pillows we sleep on. I guess you're not supposed to let people see your pillows, like you don't show people your underpants, you know? So I had to take these 2 pillows, I put them at the end of the bed. Okay, now all the pillows are gone. Then we got the spread. I pick up the pillow, my pillow, take the spread, fold it down to the foot of the bed. Walk around her side of the bed, pick up the pillow, take the spread down. Then I take half the spread, fold it over. Then I go around to my side, take the spread, fold it down. Then I take from that, goes over the foot of the bed, flip that over on top, go over here to her side, flip it over on top, fold it over, put it on the bench, 1 minute and 6 seconds. I'm saying, you see, for 1 minute and 6 seconds, I'm angry at my wife. I said, this isn't right. So, I decided when I come up and get the bed ready, it's going to take 1 minute and 6 seconds. I'm going to think about all the things that I love about my wife. Come on, you're supposed to say, oh. And it changed my perspective. See, I was able to change my attitude because I didn't like what I was doing. We can do that in all kinds of things. You don't like how you're feeling about something? Change it. Change it. I still don't like to take the bed apart. I'm still happy when my wife has to get up and go out in the morning and doesn't get a chance to make the bed. Then I can just kind of slide in. But I've decided it's changed a negative part of my life, which was a negative, uncalled for. So we all have things that we could do a little bit better. And I'm going to close with one more idea. One word can change everything. I just said I have to get the bed ready. We also have to do things. I have to do the dishes. I have to do the laundry. I have to do the shopping. When we say we have to do something, it connotes a chore, work, unpleasantness, maybe. Right? If you take that have to and change it to get to, all of a sudden you change a chore to a blessing. I get to do the dishes. I get to do the shopping. I get to do the laundry. Now, it's a great idea because it changes the whole thing. Shopping, what a blessing it is to go shopping. We have stores that stock things that please us. And we have the ability to buy it. Maybe we don't buy the prime steaks, but we buy stuff that we like. It's a blessing. I get to do the dishes. We have dishes. I don't have to go down to this, hope that it rains or anything. I get to do the laundry. I don't have to bang my clothes up against a rock. I have a washing machine, a dryer. Now, the thing is, it only works in the first person. I get to do the dishes. You start with no good if you say, you get to do the dishes. It doesn't work that way. Only a blessing for you. So, anyway, try it. All of a sudden, it starts to become less of a chore. It's a blessing from God to do the laundry, to do the shopping. May not work for you, but try it. Tomorrow morning? Good. Now, how about, you got to try it. I get to do the laundry. See, it works.
Washing machine does.
Fine. Exactly. That's what a blessing. How many people don't have a washing? Anyway, it's just fun. That's all. You get to do the bills. Yeah, my wife gets to do the bills. Yeah. I did a lousy job with the bills. She does a much better job. Okay, we're going to close tonight with Mary, did you know? Talked about some tough stuff tonight. And it is tough because some of us have these pathways that are not as productive as they might be, not as loving as they might be. So tonight is a night to start. Tonight is start counting on our Lord for help. So tomorrow night, we're going to be here again at 7 o'clock. We're going to talk about how to start to live heaven on earth. We've been talking about that for 2 nights, but we're going to dig a little deeper tomorrow night. So we're going to sing Mary, Did You Know? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would one day walk on water? Mary, did you know that your baby boy will save our sons and daughters? Did you know that your baby boy has come to make you new? This child that you delivered will soon deliver you. Mary, did you know that your baby boy will give sight to a blind man? Mary, did you know that your baby boy will calm the storm with his hand? Did you know that your baby boy has walked where angels trod? When you kiss your little baby, you kiss the face of God.
The blind will see, the deaf will hear, the dead will live again. The lame will leap, the dumb will speak, the praises of the Lamb. Mary, did you know that your baby boy is Lord of all creation? Mary, did you know that your baby boy will one day rule the nations? Did you know that your baby boy is heaven's perfect lamb? The sleeping child you're holding is the great I am. Mary, did you know? Mary, did you know?
Thank you very much. Goes fast. It goes fast. Seems like it's going to be a long time, but here we are tomorrow night. So thank you for coming. I really appreciate your support and love. Let me just put